Welcome to another episode of Crafting with Roswell. Today we'll be doing a book folding project. The kit is quite simple. It's your postcard and one hardcover book. These hardcover books are either ex-library or left over from the recent book sale that we had. Suggested extras would be a piece of scrap paper, but you could always use this postcard, a ruler or a bone folder to help with the page folds, and then it's up to you for decorating. I recommend small battery operated lights, mini ornaments, mini presents. You can even paint the outside cover of your book, paint inside pages, paint the folds of your tree when you're done folding. You can use scrapbook paper in order to line around your tree. And you can also use like twine to make a garland and wrap that around as well. And here's an example of a finished folded book. So this is 50 pages, and I ended up with a little surprise in my illustrations in this sample one. So I have a little friend peeking out at me. But the way these pages are folded, these ends are great for hiding your extras. So hiding and marking your twine with tape, securing your lights with tape, all of those kind of extras can hide right behind these folds. Let's get started. So first, if you end up with an ex-library book, it's going to have this outer cover secured tightly to it. I'm going to show you my simple ways of disconnecting. So I just go along the top and give a little snip to help disconnect this threaded tape. It's in there nice and tight. We don't want the jackets falling off while everyone's borrowing and reading. So same thing along the bottom. Just slipping it between the cover and the book and give it a snip. On the back side of your book, you will see the tape. It should just peel off gently using your fingernail. And a little of the paper of the book might come off, but not to the point where it would be super noticeable for your project. And you'll see sometimes the little glue strips want to stay. Just work at them with your finger and gently pull. If yours has a regular dust flap, I also recommend keeping these on your project while you're working and not removing until the very end. That way anything that might be on your hand is not permanently on your project. It's just on this cover that we'll be removing anyways. So go ahead and snip the other side carefully. And that way my cover is now loose. This is a great way to repurpose a book. So our book started as trees turned into paper, and now we are taking that paper and turning it back into a tree. And there are a variety of folding patterns that you can use to make a pine tree, Christmas tree shape into a book. I'm going to show you the simplest one that I found that doesn't involve a lot of thinking. You'll get into a groove folding your pages. So I'm just going to keep that on for now. So first steps, we're going to go through to the very last numbered page. So for me, that's 322. And we're going to take this number and cut it in half. So I'm looking for about the 160 mark to find the middle of my book. I like to fold from the center out to the right in one direction and then out to the left in one direction. So I'm going to do 5 sets of my folds in this direction. Use my postcard after to help mark where my center is, and do 5 folds in this direction. To achieve this look, it's 50 folds. So it was 25 sets of the folds this way and 25 this way, but I don't do all 25 on each side at once. I balance it out. It helps with the binding, and you'll see that it gets really tight trying to make the corner creases for your pages. And so I find that working like 5 pages in one direction, 5 pages in the other direction, and alternating helps me. Another bonus for doing it that way is if you get to 40 pages folded and you're happy with the fullness of your book, you're able to stop. So then your design is still perfectly in the center of your book when you have 40 pages total, 20 on each side, and then you're not having to make yourself fold anyways to get that even look. So let's get started with folding. So you can use a bone folder. It's not absolutely required. You could find that your fingertips, if they're sensitive, are going to be very tired doing this project. So by all means, stop, take breaks. I'm going to move my scissors out of the way so I don't get hurt. And let's start folding. And if you see something dangle in the corner, that's just my earbud cord, trying to keep it out of the way and give you the best overhead view for this project. So now that we're in the middle, let's start with our folds. So we start with the outer corner of the page, and we are going to kind of roll the page down and pull the page down into the center of the binding of the book. So it doesn't have to tuck all the way in, but I like to keep it nice and parallel to the other side of the book. I'm just going to fold my first crease. This page still has 2 more folds we have to do in order to accomplish one section of our tree. So now that you've done that fold, hold at the corner again, pull that corner down towards the bottom of your book. So you're rolling the page again and kind of tuck it into the binding like we did before, nice and close, and then use your finger to start folding once again. And now you see we have a little overhang. To take care of this overhang, there are 2 ways. One is to just gently rub your finger along the edge, giving you a little crease line. The pages we already folded will make a little pouch that you can then tuck that piece into. So now it's folded out of the way into the bottom of our tree against your surface, your counter, your table, your mantle. Will not get in the way of the binding edge of the book. So that outer hardcover is going to be a little further out than our pages end up and give you that structure for standing your book. And that is our first section. And if folding your book in this direction is easier for you, it's totally personal preference. So I'm going to get into the same folds, pull down from the top, roll the page in, crease with my finger, pull that page down, roll it in, crease with my finger, along the bottom, make a little crease, just poof out my folds and tuck that in. So I'm going to keep going with 3 more on this side, and it's okay if your pages aren't exactly the same each time. It just gives a little character to your tree. As long as we're not talking about a whole 1/4 of an inch to an inch difference, it's not going to make a difference. The other thing I want to mention is it doesn't really matter what's on the edges of your book or along the top. So you might have property markings, you could have a little discoloration. The color of your tree is going to be determined by the color of the inside paper of your book. Because once it's folded, that's becoming the visible part. And every once in a while, I like to take my section and just go back through, pinch those edges to make sure I have nice, sharp creases. And this is where a bone folder would come in handy as well. Just scrape that along that edge to get a very crisp fold. So that's 4 down, 1 more to work on this side. So you can use your fingernail, use the bone folder, whatever you need to do to try and tuck that corner piece into the binding. Also, don't be afraid at this point to kind of stretch out your hardcover, so bending the binding to kind of break it in different areas to make it easier for you to manipulate and fold into. So there's our first 5. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn my book and make my first fold on this side. I'm still going in the same direction, still doing the same folding. You can change and go in this direction if you find it easier, but just for consistency in my tree, I'm going to keep folding this way. So I'm just tucking this page in, folding down over my other folds, taking this corner, pulling it down and in, folding that. And now working in this direction, it can be kind of tricky to get that tight fold along the bottom. So what I like to do is just hold up that folded page and just match the end of the page, fold over, still make my crease, poof it out, tuck it in, done. So I'm going to do 4 more on this side. And since this is my first one on this side of the book, I'm just using a piece of scrap paper. You can obviously use something way smaller. You can tear a piece of this off just to help me with my counting. So I know I have 5 in this direction. This is my first in this direction. I need 4 more to help keep my tree centered in the middle of my book. And you may find that the top of your page wants to tear a little. Don't worry. As long as you can get it to fold down a little bit, it's going to hide in the folds of the pages of the books. Fold in and hide with the pages of the book that you're folding next. So it's not going to be a big concern. Also, you can create a little tree topper. So think origami star, think other little maybe miniature angel, whatever you would like to be your tree topper that you can add to help cover over this top portion and hide any of those little discrepancies. So 1, 2, 3, 2 more to go on this side. You can also, if you have any pieces sticking up, if you have a small pair of scissors, just kind of trim that away. Just gently guiding, rolling that page down. And there's 4. One more on this side. And that marks 5. So I'm going to take my fingers, help sharpen those folds. And there are the first 10 folds of my tree. So now I have 5 on this side, 5 on that side. This helps keep me from having to do as much counting, knowing exactly where the center of my book was without having to unfold any pages. And so I would just keep going. 5 more this side, 5 more that side, and keep building until you have like 25 folds on this side and 25 sets of folds on this side to give you a nice even tree in your book. Now you could find that your pages are thinner and that's not enough to make your tree look full. Keep folding as far as you would like. If you don't want this text visible when you're done, that's where I recommend you can use scrapbook paper and just cut it to match the size of your page. And the books that I chose for this project all have either a red, a green, or a black, or a nice solid color binding for the outside cover. So then you have that red pop or green pop or that black pop along the edge of your finished project. And now keep folding. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments on Facebook. You can always drop me a message. You can always call me at the library and I'll be happy to help you with your project. Happy crafting, and I'll see you again next week for the Book Stack Trio.